Did you know that basic Excel skills are must-have skills for 80% of all middle-level skill jobs? That is what a study by Lightcast and Capital One found out. Not surprising considering that Excel has several tools, especially formulas, to make your life easier and make your data more useful and insightful. In this video, we are going to see the top 5 most commonly used Excel formulas with examples. Before we start, let's quickly review 4 basic but core Excel terms: column, row, cell, and range. A column is a vertical stack of cells. I will explain cells in a second. Columns are labeled with letters such as column A, column B, column C, etc. A row, on the other hand, is a horizontal line of cells. Rows are labeled with numbers, such as row 1, row 2, row 3, etc. A cell is a rectangular space at the intersection of a column and a row, so each cell gets its name from the intersecting column and row. For example, the name of this cell is D5 because it is in column D and row 5. Cells are where we enter data, such as numbers or texts. Now, the last term is range. Range is just a group of cells. It can be 2 cells, or an entire column, or an entire row, or covering multiple rows and columns. Great. One more basic concept about formulas. All Excel formulas follow the same general format. That is, an equal sign, followed by the formula name, and then parentheses that contain the input data. The type of inputs inside the parentheses varies depending on the formula. Inputs inside the parentheses of Excel formulas are commonly called arguments. And if there are more than one argument, they are separated by commas. And you can enter a formula in any cell or cells. The long field just below the ribbon is called the formula bar. It always displays the content of the currently selected cell, whether that's a number, text, or a formula. The formula bar makes it easier to enter or edit content because it gives you more space to work than the cell itself. To demonstrate the top 5 most used formulas, we're using this sales detail, which is dated June 1st, showing invoice number, product name, quantity or units sold, unit price, and first and last names of the salesperson. While this is a short list, in reality, a sales transactions list on a single day can have hundreds and thousands of rows. So keep that in mind. And also remember, you can use the formulas in any context, not just sales or accounting. Okay, without further ado, let's start with the first most commonly used formula: the sum. The sum formula is used to add up or sum up values, and its format is equals, sum, parentheses. For example, here, I want to know the total units sold. To do that, click inside the parentheses and select the units sold column. Notice when I select the cells, Excel automatically entered that range for me here: C4, C15, which represents all the cells from C4 all the way to C15. That is it. Press Enter to exit the formula view. We now know the total units sold, which is 12,103. The next, most common Excel formula is SUMIF. The SUMIF formula, like the sum formula, adds up values together. But it does that selectively, based on a condition. The format of the SUMIF formula is equals, SUMIF, open and close parentheses. It takes 3 inputs inside the parentheses: criteria range, criteria, and range to add up. Example, let's say I want to know the total units sold by James only. James is one of the salespeople. To get that, enter your criteria range, which, as you might guess, is the salesperson column. Then your criteria, that is just James. For the range to add up, select the units sold column. And that is it. Press Enter. Now we know how many items James sold, which is 4,338. Moving to the next, most common Excel formula: the IF formula. The IF formula, or function, gives you one value if a condition is true and another value if that condition is false. The format of the IF formula is equals, if, open and close parentheses. A simple IF formula takes 3 inputs inside the parentheses: condition or logical test, value if condition is true, value if condition is false. Example, let's say I want to identify invoices with more than 1,000 units sold. Here, my condition is units sold greater than 1,000. Comma, if that is true, label it a large sale. Comma, otherwise, label it a small sale. That is it. Press enter. We get a large sale for the first row. For the remaining rows, just drag this down all the way. It automatically reproduces the formula for all the lines and labels them a large sale or a small sale, depending on whether the number of units sold is more than 1,000. The next, most common Excel formula is a lookup formula most people are familiar with. VLOOKUP. The VLOOKUP formula is used to find and match values between two separate lists or tables. The format of the VLOOKUP formula is equals VLOOKUP, then open and close parentheses. The VLOOKUP formula takes four inputs inside the parentheses. Lookup value, lookup table or table array, same thing, column number, and lookup mode, or range lookup as Excel calls it. Example, let's say you have a separate list of invoice numbers for which you want to know the corresponding salespeople. You can do that in a seemingly magic way. How? For the lookup value here, type or select the invoice number you want to find the salesperson for. For the lookup table, select the entire sales table here, because that is where we are looking up the salesperson. Notice, when I selected the table, Excel automatically entered the range for me here. Select that range and press the F4 button on your keyboard. That converts the range into what we call an absolute reference. I will explain the difference between an absolute and a relative reference in a separate video. Alternatively, especially for Mac users, instead of using the F4 button on your keyboard, you can just manually type the $sign next to each letter and number in the range. Awesome. For the column number, type the number of columns between the invoice number and the salesperson columns, because we are trying to match an invoice number with a salesperson. So, the column number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I type 5 here. For the last input, just type 0. 0, in this context, is a lookup mode type that finds an exact match. That is it. Exit the formula. We now know, for this invoice number, the salesperson is Mark. For the remainder of the invoices, drag this first to reproduce the formula. And boom, now we know who the salesperson is for each invoice listed here. The last formula in the topmost 5 common Excel formulas is the concatenate formula, which is used to join texts side by side. The format is equals, concatenate, open and close parentheses. For example, here, if you want to see both the first and last names in one column, click inside the parentheses of the formula here and select the first name cell, comma, then select the last name cell. Now, we have the first and last names in one column. But if you notice, there is no space between the first and last names in the joined text. We can fix that by inserting a space in the formula. After the first name field here, just add a comma and a space in quotations. Like so. That is it. Then drag this to expand it for all the rows. Here you have it. That wraps up the top 5 most commonly used Excel formulas. If you have any question or comment, drop it below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and of course subscribe. Okay, thanks.